What's up, guys? My name is Khan, and we're back today with more Railroads Online and Heist. We've got a backlog of engines needing service, I think.
I was just looking at that.
Times. Yeah.
You know, like, when you number your locomotives with the Fibonacci sequence, it's really cool, but you start to forget how many you have because the numbers don't make sense, and I didn't realize we already had, like, is this 7? No,
yeah.
6.
1, 2, 3,
6 locomotives.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, we got 6. Next one's going to be number 13, which is exciting.
Which is exciting. And, man, we had some fun comments about that because after 13 comes 21.
Right.
So we had originally talked about doing 13 as Kenosha because unlucky Kenosha derailment.
Yeah.
But we could do 21, which is the legal drinking age in the United States.
Oh,
as
yes,
Kenosha.
because the United States is the whole world. I forgot about that. That's right.
Well, we are playing a United States railroad video game
and
here.
the Class 70 actually has 2 big American flags on it, so you can't really do anything about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of frustrated that those got
See, in
put
Canada,
back
the drinking
on,
age
but
is 19 and 18 in some places. We have some split laws, you know.
Well,
so.
Well, look at you guys being progressive or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Anyway, we're going to build a roundhouse. Well, we're not really going to build a roundhouse because there is no roundhouse.
Yeah.
There should be a roundhouse, but we're going to build a round table. We're going to invite the knights. And,
we're the knights of the round table.
Yeah, and it's Camelot. Oh my god, we should build a castle on top of that hill that looks like just the silhouette of a castle on top.
So it's only a model.
And then we can look up and be like, it's Camelot. Anyway.
It is a silly place.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to build a round table. We're going to park all these guys up. And
we got the turntable, and we just need to kind of outfit it with tracks and a little bit of a shop space.
Heist is going to regale us with stories of
roundhouses and
roundhouses,
things.
yes. So I guess you might as well talk about the roundhouse you have at the museum first. That would make probably the most sense, right?
Probably that is the touchstone that people know. It's not the only roundhouse I've worked in, funnily enough, but yes. So the museum's roundhouse is actually a new roundhouse built in 2000 at the museum.
Did it have an old one? Or was it just...
It did not have an old one. It was a new building.
Oh, wow.
There was a roundhouse in Golden on the Colorado and Southern. And I have no idea when it got demolished, but it's been gone for a long time. It was in a different location. The museum is built on an old farm property. So the roundhouse was a new construction. Our turntable is an original turntable from somewhere back east. I can't recall off the top of my head, but we put it in and had it brought over and everything. And then they built the roundhouse new. It's 5 stalls patterned off of typical narrow gauge roundhouses. The neat thing about it, though, is that the doors have all of the original hardware from the Alamosa Roundhouse on the Denver and Rio Grande Western, which was probably the biggest one on the narrow gauge portion of the railroad, if I had to guess.
So they were taking down the old roundhouse, and you guys bought the doors and shipped them over?
We ended up getting the hardware from the doors. Yeah, they knocked the rest of the building down, but we got all the locking mechanisms and all the metal fun that made up the doors. So it's pretty cool to know that part of it's historic, at least.
That's neat.
But it's 5 stalls, and it's labeled clockwise. So stall 1 is on the left as you're staring at the doors of the roundhouse from the turntable, and then stall 1 through 5. The third stall is pretty short because our visitors gallery protrudes into the shop, kind of in that area, and that's where our machine shop is. And then kind of 1 and 2 is where the locomotives tend to live when they're all put together in the summer and running and everything. 1 will end up in 4 as well because we have 3 that run. And then stall 4 and 5 is where a lot of the woodwork side of the stuff goes. So the tools are kind of allotted that way. And it's a neat little roundhouse. It's definitely on the small side of things. And, you know, the rule of shop work definitely applies where you always want more shop. So... we always wish we had a little bit more space, but
so how does
we make do with what we have.
How many locomotives can you actually store then, like, in the winter and stuff? Aren't you guys worried about... I guess you just leave them outside. You don't really care? Like, it's not...
Nah, the operating engines all live inside all the time.
Okay.
So right now, with doing some restoration projects, we have 20 put together, pretty much ready to go in stall 2, and then 491 and 346 both are in stall 1, to which you say... They can't fit in the same stall together. And yes,
you take
they can,
the tenders off, right? I've heard this story.
Tenders off, yep.
Yeah.
Tenders are off, the tenders are outside, and that's how they fit in there. And that's pretty common. Like, I was just at the Durango and Silverton last weekend, and all the tenders were off their engines outside so that they could make use of their space. And guess what? Their roundhouse has many more stalls than ours does, so they still run into the same problem. So it's pretty funny.
I'm running into a bit of an issue here. I don't know how much you care. I'm doing 30-meter lanes because I feel like 30 meters supports even the largest choo-choo we could possibly have.
Yeah, definitely.
But obviously on this side, the 30 meters is going to interfere with the track. So the question is, do we push this whole thing back further into the woods?
Well, so the name of the game...
delete the ones on the front?
The name of the game with engineering is boundary conditions, right? So, you can only go as far as you can go, and some stubs will be shorter, some stubs will be longer. That's how our turntable is at the museum. We actually have a couple stub tracks that are only like 10 feet long, and they have some wheel sets or
short
trucks
stubs on this. Okay, well then
that's fine. We don't have enough locomotives to completely encircle the table, and if and when we do get there, guess what? That's where Betsy can live.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me just, we'll put some short stubs here then. I'm a master of short stubs. You can put stoppers on all these, actually, because we need to...
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
We need stoppers on all of them.
We wouldn't want to run off the end of track, which has never happened at any roundhouse, particularly not with my friend Leighton running a locomotive.
Do you guys have stoppers on the end of all your tracks, like every track that comes to an end?
We don't have stoppers on almost any of the tracks, because guess what? They weren't really a thing on the narrow gauge, which is, I get why they're in the game, and the ones that are in the game are actually modeled off of one from like an LGB train set or something. So they're definitely not necessarily accurate, but the function is definitely helpful. We have like some clamped skids that prevent you from like the wheel from going any further, if it hits it slowly.
But if you hit that hard enough, would you just destroy it?
You'd shear the bolts, and it would, that's
okay.
that. But that's the same with any ended track device, and we have that on like 2 of the tracks.
Right.
And some of them also go into the hillside, and like, okay, well, you're gonna hit dirt at some point, and that'll be that. But yeah, we don't actually have stoppers. So yeah, there have been moments where we were concerned about going through the back wall. Let me tell you.
Have you ever have you guys run a train off a track before, like right off?
My buddy Leighton, as I said, we've thrown him under the bus with this story on the channel a number of times, which is the only reason I'm doing it. But he was running our gas mechanical switcher Pee-wee number 3, so it's a straight 6, basically a tractor on rails with a 4-speed manual transmission, transfer case. And he had a moment of panic and forgot you had to push the clutch in to stop, and proceeded to go straight off the end of track. And,
nice. How heavy is that thing to put back on?
It's 8 tons, so we put it back on with the backhoe.
Oh, yeah, so just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the smallest locomotive we have, so that runs on 3-foot gauge at least. Roundhouses are cool, and they made a lot of sense in the steam era. I've also gotten to work at the Durango and Silverton Roundhouse briefly while working on the 493 and doing a couple other things. And their roundhouse is really cool. It's super big. I don't know how many stalls it is, but it's a lot bigger than our shop, and there's a back shop off the end of it. And the neat thing about that roundhouse is, though it burnt down, or part of it burnt down in the 1980s, it's been rebuilt pretty much exactly as it was. And it's seen so much coal smoke over the years that the ceiling is just pitch black. This one might be a little close to the dynamic envelope over here, Con, these last 2.
Roundhouse is like on narrow gauge, in terms of narrow gauge, like they must have been like only at like major switching hub areas. I'm assuming like, trains at industry would just be parked in like a shed or something to cover them, and that would be it. Like they wouldn't really...
Well, so usually, I mean, it depends on the operation, right? So like on the Rio Grande, they had big roundhouses at the big terminal locations, but then they also had sort of the intermediate locations where trains would originate or terminate that would also have roundhouses, whether they were big or small. So, your run for the day was probably something like Durango to Chama back in the day, which is over the Cumbres and Toltec, and departing from the Durango and Silverton's roundhouse, which is funny, and then running over a bunch of railroad that doesn't exist anymore. But you would depart Durango and you'd make it to Chama, so you'd switch all your cars out on the way if you had any, and then you would make it to another roundhouse, and that would be that. And then if the industries owned locomotives or anything like that, they would take care of them themselves, leave them outside, do whatever they would do. But you'd be talking about road power, and it would always try to make it over to the road to the next location with a roundhouse. So
right.
Got to take care of your choo-choos, which is very starkly different than the way that modern day railroading works and modern day roundhouses work.
Yeah, what was your experience on the the modern day railroad? Like the roundhouse
So-
must be a whole different ballgame because you got big diesels and stuff, and you must
Yeah,
have like huge
so
overhead cranes and all that kind of thing. And
It's surprisingly and it's surprising and interesting. I worked at the Interbay shop, which is the Seattle diesel facility for the BNSF Railway, and that is a 1929 Great Northern Roundhouse. And I'm sure someone else has another example of a Class 1 using a roundhouse. I know that there's probably other historic ones that exist that the Class 1s are still using, but to my knowledge, Interbay was the last of like system big shop, though it was the baby of the big system shops. We were the smallest one. We were the biggest roundhouse that was still being used as a big, heavy maintenance facility, whereas other roundhouses had been relegated to like just being a place where trains got turned around or whatever.
right.
Because at the end of the day, the roundhouse makes absolutely no sense for
Yeah,
the
a lot
modern
of
day
it's
railroad.
and now it's like through and through shops, right? Where you drive in one end,
Exactly.
drive out the other, and
Or,
they just
or
built
sometimes
one
they're a
actually,
stub.
like in the town I live in.
sometimes-
They built one for all the local train
Oh, nice.
traffic. It's for light rail stuff, so like public
Okay.
transit stuff.
Yeah.
But they built it's like this massive shop, and you could drive a whole train in there. They got all the overhead cranes. They could pick the whole train up off the track if they wanted to, put it on a whole different rail if they wanted to. Like it's completely decked out.
That is the dream, having a shop that well equipped. We were decently equipped at our shop. We could do most things except for we couldn't lift an engine out of a locomotive, and we couldn't pick a locomotive off of its trucks, but we could drop its trucks out from underneath it. We had a pretty neat drop table set up that was original from the
So
Great
what, you put
Northern.
the locomotive on big metal blocks basically, and then drop
There's
the
a
truck out.
giant big jack stands that are built into a pit that then you have an elevator in the pit that is normally the floor, and then you lower the elevator with the truck disconnected and down it goes.
Oh my god!
And then you shift it over to another stall in the roundhouse. So it was an elevator on a curved track. And we could drop out fuel tanks, entire trucks, or just single traction motors with it. And it was like the bread and butter for doing big work at the shop, which was really, really cool. But the biggest thing about the roundhouse and why it doesn't make any sense anymore is that the locomotives are no longer specific. And what I mean when I say that is when you had steam engines, you had a very specific engine for a specific job. We've been talking about locomotives with certain driver size and cylinder size and certain tractive effort. And some were a little bit better at speed. The geared engines were better at hills, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. You had all these specific locomotives, and you had a crew get called, a train get called, assigned, and it needed the Glenbrook. It needed
Right.
that engine,
And now
not
it's
any
just
other engine.
Big diesel go burr, and then that's
Now you have high horsepower locomotives and
Yeah.
you have intermediate locomotives. So high horsepower is about 4,400 horsepower. Anything over 4,000.
I'm gonna fix this last one because like it's not using my pattern.
Oh.
It's just slightly off.
It's
So I'm gonna just center.
off. So yeah.
I'm just gonna center it in this last one so like people can just and not notice it. But like
It's fine.
if we had exact degrees, I would do this perfectly. But I took a stab at it. It was close. It was
pretty close. Pretty close.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't
Yeah.
perfect. So I'm just gonna center this one for,
So
anyway.
high horsepower, about 4,000 plus horsepower, which is like every big modern diesel you see over the road, pretty much.
Right.
And then intermediate locomotives, which are designed for switching these days. They used to be the road locomotives of the 1970s and the 1980s, but now they're relegated pretty much to switching service. And you either need some intermediates to go to the industry or go switch out the hump or whatever, or you need X many high horsepower engines for this train, just based on how many horsepower per ton you need.
Yeah, I mean,
So
so
the
modern
turntable-
trains, right?
Yeah.
Not to interrupt too much, but like if you had old steam locomotives, no matter how many locomotives you have to have one engineer, one fireman, probably
each
a
one.
brakeman per locomotive, even if you're using like 5 on a train. With modern diesels, do they just pair them all together and have one guy drive them all, or do they have to?
Yep.
So it's
They are
one engineer
all-
for the train.
One engineer for the whole train. Even if there's locomotives at the back of the train, he controls them via radio
From the front.
from the front. Yep.
Wow. So it's just like one
So-
engineer, one conductor, have a nice day.
You save a bunch of crew that way.
Yeah.
And it makes the railroad a lot more efficient. But the thing that you get to is the turntable in a shop that is not a rolling through shop becomes a choke point.
Right.
if I'm trying to release 5 locomotives at my shop, which that was pretty much our target at the BNSF shop, was we needed to release 5 locomotives a day. That was the metric they wanted out of us.
Like, and 5 repairs a day, no matter like how
5 repairs or maintenance or whatever it was, you know, we were kind of equipped to handle 20 to 25 locomotives pretty handily. And then, you know, if we had shop counts up to like 60 before, and that was a nightmare. That starts to get like rush hour.
Not to interrupt you again, but I know this probably doesn't make sense, but we're gonna do it this way anyway. I'm gonna put a line that comes off here,
and then we're gonna go to a shed as a
and then
it's
shop,
gonna go to
a shed.
Okay, I like that.
I know you probably would never have a switch off of a round
table. You've already got the turntable.
Yeah.
You could stick one in that's really tight in between the other two. Like,
well,
I
thought about that, but the
tight lanes.
the freaking arm gets in the way.
No, not the switch. Like, have 2 tight lanes that the rails almost touch.
You mean like
that's the way they would have done it. Yeah. I mean, there are examples of switches after turntables, but if you were to like try and squeeze 2 tracks in between these tracks and then tie them in, that would be the way.
That ruins we're just, you know what,
it does mess with the symmetry. If the switch
ruins
the
my
symmetry,
beautiful symmetry, Hyce. Look at the view of this from right from here in the middle. Look,
the efficiency.
Look at how good this looks from here, though. This is ridiculous.
It is pretty cool.
How many lines do we have? We've got 1. Oh wait, you know what? I'm an idiot.
Many.
This should be, if we're gonna do this, we should do this.
You should probably do it off of the straightmost.
The one that's right off the main. Yeah, that would.
Yeah, so you can just run straight across the table into maintenance.
Yeah,
because if you were dragging a locomotive dead, you wouldn't want to turn it, shunt it in. Yeah, you'd just drag it in and stick it in.
So it'd be off this one right here.
The turntable. I mean, it's a choke point. We try to get 5 releases a day. And I was night shift supervisor all the time, so I was like 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., which is just a joy, by the way, which is really why
I've worked midnight shifts before where it's 10:30 till 6:30 in the morning.
Right.
So that's a fun shift.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
And it's actually, the people that work night shift are all kooky and crazy and batty, and it's a vibe. It's fun, but it sucks. But anyway, invariably day shifts with the most manpower would fail to get anything released, or maybe they'd get 1. Like, because that's just how it works. Because you'd end up with 5 engines.
I don't want to be that guy, but there's too much management on day shift. It's like whenever you work afternoons or midnights, stuff gets done, and it somehow gets done to a similar quality standard, but yet twice as fast. So
Colin's giving me PTSD. That's too real.
Bro, every engineering job is the same. That's the crazy. That's what we're learning, right?
It's all the same.
It doesn't matter if you work with trains or cars. The results are similar.
Yeah, well, what it was for us was that we'd end up like needing 2 shifts worth of work on stuff, or something that needed 1 shift would end up being more screwed up than we thought because trains, and so it would end up needing a 2nd shift worth of work. Right. And so invariably what would happen is we'd have 5 locomotives that would need to go out and get tested. You know, probably like 4, and 1 was some other easy repair. So the 1 would get released early in my time there, and I would come in and like 5 p.m. was right at lunchtime, and so the 4 engines that needed to go out and get tested, they would all get done, surprisingly, right at like 4:30 or 4:45 p.m. So maybe, if you were lucky, the moves team would get 1 locomotive pulled out on the turntable, started, and then put somewhere else. And then everyone would go to lunch, including the moves team. And then after lunch, you'd be watching the moves team one by one drag a dead locomotive out of the house, start it on the turntable, make sure nothing leaked because it had like a total waste collection thing as part of it. And then set it out, and it was like the 4th engine, which you need to release, is only now finally going outside at like 7 p.m. And guess what? Break is at 8 p.m. And the crew that had been working on that locomotive had been sitting, waiting for that locomotive to get taken outside. And it was just like the ritual of how we can sit and do nothing on our phones until the choo-choo goes outside. So
I accidentally ordered a log car.
How'd you do that?
I was using my speedrunner fingers to go through the menus.
I accidentally log car.
There's a log car now that's going to be parked at the
It's fine.
Don't worry about
permanently live at the shop or something.
Well, I mean, we'll just add it to our log train. We'll have 9 log cars instead of 8. I mean, we might eventually buy more anyway. It's not labeled, but none of our log cars are. There you go. There's the shop. I just wanted to build it up a little bit so we didn't have nearly as much grass sticking through.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of a foundation.
Yeah,
It looks nice. So I mean, like this is not the most common configuration of and use of a turntable, but like a lesser facility that doesn't have a true roundhouse would do something like this.
Did you just call me a lesser facility? Is that what you just?
I did. I did. This is the most advanced facility we can realistically have in Railroads Online. Congratulations, Con. You figured it out.
I don't know.
But on the real railroad, we could have real roundhouses and buildings with roofs and things. So
I don't know how I feel about this thing. I was gonna call you Cosmo because normally Cosmo's the one demeaning all my work, but yeah, no, now it's I don't know, Hyce. I feel like I've put in a lot of effort into this beautiful roundhouse, and you're just criticizing my work.
It's a turntable with some stuff.
You're really pulling a day shift on me. You know what I'm saying? Like you're really just.
Don't you do me dirty like that, Con? Come on, man.
Actually, I used to work. My most common shift configuration when I worked at Automotive was alternating shifts, day-night. Like, so it'd be like day and then afternoons, and you'd switch every 2 weeks. I don't know if you guys ever had to do that, but that was
so
that was fun.
They talked about doing that at our supervisors meetings because almost every other shop did that. That if they ran the 12-hour shifts for the supervisors, because some did, some didn't. It was just the way it worked. And then they decided, well, we need 4 guys on day shift, and we only need 2 guys on night shift. And Hyce and the other young foremen were the 2 dudes that didn't have families, so they just got to be the night shift people.
Yeah, that's why I got put on the rotating shifts, because I was, quote, young guy with no family. So
yeah, because
all the guys with families ended up on day shift, and I'm like, you're rewarding people for having children. I don't understand.
I don't get, this is not fair. But,
yeah,
I get it. I'm like, taking care of kids, like that's a lot of work and it's a big thing, and
yeah, but I didn't have
understand
kids.
My place,
they're not my kids. You know what I mean? Like it's your kids,
right? It did feel frustrating in the
Throw
time,
me into
course.
one of these lines, sir. Preferably.
Okay. Well. So, Con, we have to make the choice because every rare. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because we don't actually have.
We have so many lines, dude. Does it?
Some railroads liked to nose out or nose into the shop, and some liked to back in.
I like to back in because then it looks pretty if we look at them from the round table.
Okay. Well, then we will spin you. We'll spin you round.
Yeah,
and
I feel like it'll look prettier if
here,
we just look at all the fronts rather than all the butts,
That's true.
Tenders aren't as nice looking.
It's true, but like when you walk in the shop and you walk in from the shop from the back, not from the train side, you walk in from the people side. Right. You see how that works? Then you get to see the choo-choo's face if it's the other way, but
So
every shop was different.
Do you guys let public people tour your shop at all, or do you kind of like have a fence set up or like a glass?
So we've got a visitors gallery, so we can be the monkeys in the zoo basically,
right?
Where you can come watch what
Is there
what
a big
doing.
sign that says like "Don't feed the monkeys, don't give them any"?
There really should be.
Don't antagonize the monkeys. Don't tap on the glass, please.
No, there is actually we have a soundproof door that we can shut if we really do need to, but usually it's open, and then we've got like a little toll gate that shows you can't go in, and on the inside it does say it's the William J. Lepetamayan Memorial Tollway for you Blazing Saddles fans. All right, bring him back. I'm putting you on the second lane so we can put Betsy. We want to be in order here, Con.
Oh, sure. I just wasn't sure when you were stopping. I saw you just going round and round and round, so I was... we could honestly fit like 2 Montezumas on one of these lanes with Betsy.
Easily, yeah. It's a little silly to put Zuma on this, but we'll spot it somewhere in there. Yeah, our shop, I mean, the actual shop space, because there's pits and tools and things, and like we will do tours of the shop that are guided, and sometimes, if it's a really quiet day, we can show somebody around if they're in industry and stuff. But like in general, if it's a lot of public people and everything, we have to keep it closed for insurance reasons and safety reasons, just because
it makes sense.
People don't have steel-toed shoes, steel-toed boots. People don't have safety training. People don't know that trains and tools are dangerous. It's a whole thing.
What about I know
can come in and look. So
yeah,
cool.
We've probably talked about this before. When you guys if you have people there during the day, you guys don't do you do maintenance after hours, I'm assuming, or do you do maintenance while
we're working during the day pretty much, so we'll stop and chat with folks here and there. Yeah, like people can literally come in and watch us work on choo-choos, and it's always a fun game for me these days with how many people now recognize me that I'll be sitting there wailing on something with a hammer, and then I look over and someone's giggling and pointing, and it's like, are they giggling at me because I'm stupid or because they think I'm from the internet? which is a fun game.
Combination of both, probably.
Combination of both. Yeah, probably. A little column A, a little column B. It's fine.
But anyway, while we keep doing this, someone had a question, which I thought was good. They, they were talking about how they were in a computer info systems major. I don't really know what that is, but
Okay.
they want to pursue a career as a freight or passenger train engineer. So what do they have to do?
Drop out of college and apply to the railroad.
That's pretty much it.
So
okay, but how do you go apply to a railroad? You just find
you go to
let's say I'm
jobs.bnsf.com and then see if they have any openings.
So if you're living somewhere else though, like that's obviously up in Seattle, so you've got to find whatever railroad operates local to you, or how would that work?
You need to know what railroads operate in your area. You should be lying to bring them back. You need to know what railroads operate in your area. You need to basically just find their website and apply. Like, railroads do not need people with college degrees.
Right.
They get people with college degrees for management. That's how I ended up on the railroad, but that's a different story, and it didn't end up working out for me, though it may be fun for you. So if you want to be a part of the railroad, they have, like, management trainee programs if you want to be in management and all that stuff.
We got to move the Glenbrook first because class 48 is next.
Sure. Right. Well, then we'll just keep spinning the table because I already have momentum.
All right, go for it.
But if you want to be like train crew, conductor, engineer, don't waste your money on a college degree because your college degree will be worthless. And like, you need to be 18, you need to pass a drug test, you need to be able to lift a decent amount of weight, 50 pounds, something like that, and pass a physical and strength test, and then you're good to go be a conductor trainee. Like, if you want to be an engineer, you got to work your way through conductor and then get through the seniority roster and start training as an engineer. And the railroad's going to teach you all that stuff because there's no school other than the railroad school for engineer conductor. And there is railroad school, or there are railroad schools. I'm not familiar with any other than the BNSFs, but in Kansas City, BNSF has their own
Is it
college.
like a full, like, 4 or 5 year program, or is it just like a 1 year thing, or do you know?
It's specialized training courses that are usually like, depending on the course, a week, 6 weeks, 12 weeks. They're never like, oh, you're off at school for a year, but you might be at school for a couple months and you're learning the practical, or like the non-practical, the theory and all that stuff. And they'll teach you, and they have simulators for the engineers, and they'll teach you how cars work, and they've got a little demo train yard where they can show you how to couple
when you go
cars
to the school and you realize they're like,
and...
all right, today we're going to be playing Railroads Online, and we're going to...
Oh, God. You know, I mean, they have some amount of, like, not video game, but they have software that, like, does simulate stuff. Like, they have stuff for the
but they've got the full controls
and...
set up as well, I would assume. Like, the proper
the
controls
simulators, I mean, they have simulators that have everything, like it's a real locomotive cab.
Yeah.
They've got, like, demo air brake stands so you can experience what each different kind of air brakes does. And,
with, like,
it's actually
and
a
all
really,
that.
really cool place. I mean, I really thought it was really great to go to the school and see everything that was there. But the railroad will teach you everything you need to know, which is, a good and bad thing, but definitely cool. So, like, if you want to go be a train engineer, train conductor, whatever, like, go do it. Go apply, go do the thing. They're usually looking for people because they kind of go in boom and bust cycles of, well, we're going to fire everybody and then they're going to hire everybody. And so there's usually, like, good rewards to relocate, and they'll pay you $10,000. And, if you stick on for a year or something, you get a check, and which is great. But I mean, the reality of it is that train crew's a pretty tough job. It's not just the fun and joy of getting to pull the sticks and make the train move. It's a lot of time away from home, and the schedule is very, very crazy. Don't come back here. You're not lined up.
Just close. I forgot that the 48 break doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Little bit of a jerk there.
Train crew's challenging because you tend to work 12-hour shifts and you don't know when they're going to be. You will get a call and you will have to be at a place within 2 hours of getting the call.
Right, but if you, like, obviously they know where you are, so they're not going to be like, hey, you have to go 6 hours away within...
Yeah, exactly. They call you based on where you're at, or if you're at a hotel resting on the other end of the railroad, they know where to come find you, and they'll do that, and that's you're part of that crew pool, and it's set up like that. But you may finish your 12-hour shift, and you may get called for another 12-hour shift in 10 hours, or you might get called in 2 days.
Right.
You don't know. Good luck. Figure it out. So it's definitely challenging, and there's lots of jokes about divorces and things on the railroad because, well, I mean, it's not terribly easy to maintain relationships and be consistent.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's
also
kind
be
of the same
train
if you're an
crew.
airline pilot, to be honest, too. You get just sort of called.
Yeah,
pulled all over
it's
the
really
place and-
similar to that, except worse. So
Yeah, you're away for longer. Pilots usually come back pretty quickly.
yeah, the thing with the railroad is you get to the other end of the line and you go get a hotel and then you deadhead back or you run a train back or you do whatever and you don't know when the next train's gonna be.
Bro,
The
we're just
schedule's not
trying
that great,
to. We're
so
just trying to
you're helping. You're being the stationary engine.
look
and
at
your
the
trucks are
freaking
just,
smoke, man.
Just oh my god! My game just the FPS has gone to like 2. It has turned into a slideshow. It was fine,
I'll turn
and then
it
you
off.
stare up, and then if you stare up far enough, it de-renders though. But
Oh my
that's,
god, yeah, it is. It's just a black
yeah.
cloud of smoke.
That's fine. That is an accurate simulation of
Yeah, I'm full
something.
full brake. So you gotta go full reverser. Oh no, wait, hold on.
No, con.
We're good.
con.
We're still on the track.
You're fine. You're fine. Now con. Okay. Yes.
Well, that's weird. I can't get the wheels to slip anymore.
Did they fix it?
What the heck? No, I literally was just doing it on the turn. Oh, I'm not at max boiler pressure.
Oh, that would do it.
That's
Yeah, your
amazing. If
safety's
you're
no
not at
longer
max
popping.
boiler pressure, you can actually drive the gear train. That's good.
There you go. That's how that works, right?
See, that's the interesting thing for me. Realistically, according to what you've been saying, if we were good firemen, we would never be at max boiler pressure. Ever.
You would be like really close. But
Right,
yes,
but
you'd
like
never
our
truly
fire
be at
temp
max.
caps at 400 in this game. So realistically, we should be
Which is
letting it like sit
hilariously
around.
low, but yeah.
Yeah, but we should be letting it sit around like 350 or whatever, and then only throwing in wood when it gets down to like 200, and only throwing enough wood to bring it back up to like 300 something.
I can't tell you the temps, but I can tell you what the fire looks like and when you need to add fuel. Yes.
Right.
That's a whole video. There's an hour video about shoveling coal on my channel if you want to watch that. At the end of the day, like the purpose of going to the roundhouse for a locomotive that's in service, not getting maintenance, was to go in and get filled with everything. You know, fill up on fuel, fill up on water, fill
that's
up on
perfect.
sand. It was like the low man on the totem pole's job to screen the sand in the sand house and make sure that it was nice and
So
fine
this
and
giant
wasn't wet and everything.
pit of sand out back isn't necessarily.
That is the unscreened sand, and the actual screened, ready to go sand would be in the house itself.
And then
that's what
how
gets
they
sent
pump
up
it
the
up with
pipe.
like what, like an auger screw or something up that pipe, or is that even?
I would imagine it would just be air pressure.
Oh,
I'm
true.
Not sure. Yeah, I would imagine it's air. Like that would work. I would think. Well, this is quite a little mechanical facility now. We can take our engines to the shed and maintain them. We can park them in the, in our little. We assume it never snows or rains here in Railroads Online. Which,
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Three quarters of the year, it's fine. They can sit outside. But
Yeah.
I just detest the look of roundhouses made out of the 2-stall shops because they're really cursed.
So like
yeah.
there are shops. I guess nowadays everything's through and through. So you drive in one end, drive out the other end.
Or a stub, drive in, then drive back out the same door. But yeah,
Right.
it's that concept.
Turntables are all electronically controlled now with big motors, for the most part.
I won't say all. The ones in the class ones, I'm sure they are.
It's yours.
But the one at Interbay was electronic. The one that we have at the museum is just like this. You push on a pole. Though when it was a historic turntable at a real roundhouse, it had an air motor. And then the one at Durango also has an air motor. So it's like, it looks like a little steam engine, and it sounds like a little steam engine. It goes, and tries to move the turntable around. And they were struggling with it in the super cold weather the other night. And yeah, it was kind of entertaining to watch them try and deal with it. So
Well, this is nice.
I like this.
We need more engines.
We do need more engines.
We don't have enough
this is
engines.
This is not enough locomotives.
We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A lot. We need a lot more locomotives.
Right.
We're gonna have to fill this, and then we'll have to fill them all with duplicates. I want to see this completely full of locomotives. Like every lane,
see
multiple
Every
locomotives.
I want to. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to get every locomotive in the game and go from there.
and then do them all again multiple times. So But yeah, perfect. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Obviously, we didn't really go very far this episode, but it is
We're gonna have to run some trains next time. That's for sure.
Yeah, we still have the plank cars down at the smelter, so
yeah, we forgot to go get those after last time.
Yeah, but let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.
Peace.
Bye.